What's up, guys? Sorry, I'm back. Had a little technical difficulty there for some reason. The internet just cut out. Broke the damn thing. So we'll let a couple people get up in here again before we start going back into it. Maybe it's the area that I'm sitting in here at the office. But we'll give it a second. What's up, Frenchie? What up, Titan? What up, Jim? Give me some shares. Get this thing out there. I know we just had the debacle, the internet cutting off, so give Greg a second to hop up in here, and then we'll get to it. What's up, Leslie? So I got Greg coming in here tonight with me. We're going to talk about excuses, everybody's BS excuses that they use to keep themselves from doing anything. What's up, Jordan? Greg's got a great story, his background. I mean, the dude's a serial business dude. Let's see, we in here, Greg? Yeah. Hopefully this internet stays good, man. It's kind of weird that it cut out on me in the middle of the office like this. But you're on the invite, Greg. If you guys are just joining us in here, this is Home of the Hustle on Tuesdays with me, Eddie Martin. What up?
What's up, dog?
What's going on, man?
Sorry, man. I have to turn my phone sideways.
Yeah, it's weird. And then you don't know where to look at the dang camera. I do it.
Yeah, you don't.
Well,
Hey,
cool, man.
what's happening?
Yeah, what's up, everybody? Preston, how you doing, man? These things aren't scrolling on me. Titan. All right, cool. So appreciate you jumping in here with me, dude. I figured what better topic to talk about with you than excuses?
Excuses. Excuses are 7 ugly people you need to get away from. The 7 friends you want to be around, one of them is like Fabian Brown or Frenchie Santi. You want to be around the 7 friends that are called success. You want to be around people that are going to uplift you, not criticize you, not tell you that you can't do something. All of those things I had in my family. You know, my baby niece just left. She was born to my 15th sibling, and her sister's upstairs. What's happening to Kent Johnson, Crystal, Jim Weaver? So in my life, there could not be any excuses. I'm speaking for the World Championship Public Speaking on the 24th in Canada. Before that, I go to Newport Beach, California to speak, and I have a wound on my foot that you saw, Eddie, that it could still cost me my foot. I go back to the doctor tomorrow. It's so ugly, people can't believe that I'm walking around with it. But you know what? People ask me, someone just asked me when I was in Cincinnati with a couple of world-class speakers. They said, Greg, what happens if your wound doesn't heal? It doesn't matter. I'll be on that stage in Vancouver, Canada. My wife knows it. My wife says, I hope to God it heals. Someone said, why? She said, because I've known my husband all my life. I know he will get on that stage in Canada. Listen, I don't care if there's blood pouring out of my boot. And you saw the wound, right, Eddie? It's pretty massive.
Yeah, it's brutal, dude.
It's pretty massive. I'm not even supposed to be down here in my home theater. I'm supposed to be upstairs with my feet above my head, above my heart. So, listen, there's no quitting in me. I'm going to that competition August 24th, and I'm not going there to just go. I'm going there I don't go to compete. I don't believe in competing. I believe in dominating.
Absolutely.
People who compete don't really want it. You know, the guy who wants to go to the Olympics, he competes. Jesse Owens, Carl Lewis, they dominate. Listen, 2 people grew up in my high school. One is named Jim Clemens, who was out in California with me when I was doing my book signing. He's the coach to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. He's one of 2 men who has 10 NBA rings. Another guy who graduated my high school who lives in Columbus with me, his name is James Buster Douglas, the first man to ever beat Mike Tyson, right? We couldn't use excuses in our neighborhood in Columbus, Ohio. We had to produce. We come from the poorest neighborhood in Columbus, right? Yet we have James Buster Douglas, first man to beat Mike Tyson. We have Jim Clemens, 3-time All-American, won 10 NBA rings, right, with Phil Jackson, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. And you have me, the restaurateur, who's competing, representing Columbus for the World Championship of Public Speaking. So listen, we have doctors, lawyers from our area. People say, look at that area. It's like a bunch of roaches. But then I say, see all the people who came out of that neighborhood. We didn't get here by using excuses. And so many people use excuses, Eddie. When I was out when I was out visiting you and Brad, I'd stop at a gas station. I'd try to inspire someone. And they say, that success is okay for you, but me. So I'd go tell him, what's wrong with you? He's like, then dude's like, I'm all tatted up, whatever. I'm like, okay. Well, I know a dude who's a doctor, who's a surgeon, who's all tatted up. Don't use excuses. See, everyone wants to say why they want to give themselves reasons why they can't do something instead of giving them reasons why they can do something.
Yep.
And those tattoos all the way up to here, they can be removed, right?
Yeah, dude. As long as you keep them off your face, man, you're probably gonna be pretty good.
But what he had was up here. He had the thinking, he had the ability, but he was working at the 7-Eleven because he told himself that's all he's worth. And I told him, I said, dude, I'm just speaking to you for 10 minutes. And I'm telling you, you should be making 150 G's a year.
Yeah, people limit themselves completely by the story that they tell themselves, right? And plenty of people that grew up in a similar neighborhood that you grew up in that owned that mindset, that owned this is all I can do, this is the only place I can go, and then they just live it out for the rest of their lives. I don't have a college degree, and I'm covered in tattoos.
That's right, see?
That hasn't stopped me from getting to where I'm at. That hasn't stopped me from getting attention from people that I wanted to get attention from and make the money that that I'm able to make. The only thing that stops you is up here. So I figured, talking excuses, you're the best guy that we could possibly talk to about this, because your background and your history, in case folks don't know, you want to give them a quick rundown, on your background just a little bit, because I want to stay on the excuses side of it, and I know the story can go on. So for those that don't know Greg, I want you to hear a little bit about where this guy comes from.
Well, I come from Columbus, Ohio. I'm one of 15 children. Most of my brothers in and out of jail. Most of my sisters are on the street. I take care of two nieces. One was born to my 15 sibling at 11 years old. The other one at 14 years old. Their daddy is in prison. I had a nephew at 12 years old hang himself, commit suicide. I have had nieces who blew their heads off. My father beat the hell out of my mother all the time. Eventually, I woke up one day, 8 years old. My father was back in the house. He was a drunk. He was a drug addict, pill pusher, whatever you want to call it. And I looked, see my mother at the bottom of the stairs. I saw my father holding a bottle of Jack Daniels and a gun. And I see my mother at the bottom of the stairs. And he looks at me and says, boy, this is what happens when you open your fucking mouth. I didn't speak till I was 12 years old. People called me a mute. My wife, who's upstairs, who I've known since almost the 4th grade, married her 30 years ago. I never asked her to marry me. I gave her ring to her sister, who's upstairs right now from Florida. I said, ask your sister to marry me. And I ran to my boy's house. She called me. Listen, with all my restaurants, I never had meetings until I joined this thing called Toastmasters 3 years ago. And they taught me I had a gift because I delegated. See, I learned how to delegate because people used to call me a mute. Actually, Eddie, one time I went to, and I'm the first person ever to make it past the 9th grade. And that's because I graduated 454th out of 455, only because a small black woman named Miss Renee Rivers, who my daughter has her middle name. Her name is Amanda Renee Walker. She pulled me when I dropped in my first part of my book, Dream to Grow Rich. I talked about my wife, and I said in math class, first class, I think it's math class, first period. And everyone's patting me on the back, telling me I'm the one. And I felt like Leonardo DiCaprio in the movie Titanic. They're all pumping me up, and I'm like, I'm king of the world. But then a kid came in and told me the principal wanted to see me. My very first day, we weren't in school for more than an hour and a half. He threw some papers down, and I said, what's that, sir? He says, these are the papers your 12 siblings before you signed to drop out of the 9th grade. One of my brothers was kicked out of the 8th grade because he was getting high walking down the hall. Just getting high out in the open, just walking down the hall. That same brother just died. Just took his own life a couple months ago. He took a guy's eye out for some drugs one time. Took his eye out, and he carved his eye out.
Wow.
Carved his eye out. And that same dude, 8 years later, I'm riding around with one of my brother's friends. I'm in the back seat, and my brother's friend says, hey, Randy, do you know who this young dude is in the back? And he said, no, who is it? He said, that's Tommy's brother. My brother took his eye out, and he turned around and looked at me. I thought it was a setup to kill me, and his eye was all sewn shut. And he said, you know what? You were never like your brothers. I like you. I thought I was going to die that day. So
Wow.
see, they gave me respect. And I tell people, Eddie, at 51, I was a college football player at the University of Florida. I tell people I never touched alcohol or drugs. I used to be ashamed of that. I'm not ashamed of it anymore. Not to say that it's a bad thing, because my daughter drinks alcohol. She loves I forget what it is. She loves what is it? Tequila. My daughter, but I don't do it because I have a different background than my daughter, right? So I feared for my life many times when I would meet people. When I would meet people and they know my brothers, I was always scared as hell. Now, I've always been a big guy. I haven't grown since the 5th grade. I've been 6'1" since the 5th grade, all the time. I didn't know why people made a big deal when I was younger. I wouldn't speak, but I still feared every time I met when someone came across my brother. I remember one time 3 of my brothers were riding in front of me with their friends, and I was never allowed to follow them because I think they kind of wanted me to stay out of trouble. And this dude put a crutch out, like a crutch like I'm wearing now. He threw the crutch out and he knocked me off my bike. He bloodied my nose, busted one of my teeth, and I heard my brother, who, if you know Arnold Schwarzenegger back in the day, my brother makes Arnold Schwarzenegger look like a punk. He makes him look like, and he has a swastika on his head. He's bald headed, and he's on death row. So my brother, he whistles real loud, and my other brothers scream, and this dude starts burning his tires, right? Like my brothers are going to run, right? But then they said, "Oh, we didn't know it was you." They looked at my brother and said, "We didn't know it was you." And my brother walked up to the door, and he pulled the dude out of the car, Eddie. And all I seen was my brothers and their friends smashing. There was teeth on the ground. One guy didn't get up. The police came, and my brothers came to me, and they said, "If we ever see you following us again, we are going to kick your ass." So every time I met someone who knew my brothers, I was always terrified. I always tried, but in the end, they gave me respect because they called me the good one. Mm-hmm. They called me the good one. And listen, my brothers used to call me the pussy all the time because I wouldn't get high, I wouldn't get drunk with them. Now, my oldest brother actually told me, he says, "Greg, you are the man of this family. You've raised 16 nieces and nephews. You've raised my kids." He said, "People think I'm the badass in here because of what I've done." He said, "I'm not the badass. I'm the stupid ass." He said, "You're the badass of this family." So, I got my respect in the end, and I always wanted to be true to who I was. And that's why I tell people now, be true to who you are. Don't try to be someone else. Be you, because in the end, you will win every time.
Absolutely. I appreciate you giving us the rundown there, because, prior to you coming out to see us at Lightspeed, I didn't know your story. I had never met you. We hadn't really interacted on social before. And so that was eye-opening on my end. And we hit it off. Really good dude. So I want to make sure that we stay as close and connected as possible, because I just want to be around genuine people that, are having on straight and open.
Ken is my brother from Columbus. Brad and I hit it off a couple of years ago on Blab. And Brad always said, "When you come out here, come to my office, man. I want to talk to you." So when he promoted my book and asked me to do a Facebook Live, I was it's just like when we came there. Everyone's like goo eyes all over Brad, right? I could give a rat's ass that whatever he has. Yeah. I don't care. It's just like when he's telling people not to hit his rhino, right? Well, you look at my picture on my Facebook. Was you ready when I put my book behind this rhino?
Yeah.
I put my book there and took a picture.
Yeah.
Because I think Brad had a respect for me to know that I'm not goo-eyed all over him. When I see people look at Brad and they look at Grant Cardone, they say, "Hey, Brad and Grant, would you give me a shout-out if I give you $1,500? What a poor piece of crap.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. I have a hard time with it because I've never been the starstruck type at all. When I met Brad, it was just Brad. He's just another dude, like down to earth, chill, good guy. He's successful. You want to see what he's doing. You want to follow in his footsteps and listen to what he has to say. But at the end of the day, he's just another dude that went and did exactly what he needed to do, regardless of anybody else. And he just so happens to be a cool dude.
How am I going to be goo-eyed when I'm in the circle with Michael Jordan's coach, Buster Douglas? Les Brown wrote the foreword. I call him every other day, right? And in my book, my first mentor was a guy who left his kids $9 billion, not million, $9 billion. His name is Dave Thomas. So why am I going to get goo-eyed over someone who might make a couple million a year, right?
Yeah.
No, I look at every man and woman. I look at every man and woman as just like you and I, Eddie.
Yep.
I do. And I think those people respect you and I when we don't get all goo-goo-eyed. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Which, I mean, kind of leads us right into the path of what we're talking about here when it comes to, excuses. People will say, well, I can't make it, or I can't do this or that because I'm not like them. Because I'm not like Grant Cardone. I'm not like Brad Lee or Gary Vaynerchuk, or like, who gives a crap? Like,
right.
You are like you.
Yes. When I see so many people trying to be like Gary V, I'm like, you will never make. You have all these people on social media going around. I say, Frank's going to laugh at me because I tell people this all the time. People on social media is like, rah, we're going to do it, rah. I'm a lion. I'm a freaking lion. You ain't nothing but a pussycat. That's all you're doing. I watch these Facebook Lives and I see people talk about how they're going to do everything. Listen, the people are doing things. They're not on Facebook Live, really. They're not.
I mean,
they're
yes.
not. They're not. They're not on here 20 times. Daniel Joseph, he came to hear me speak here in Columbus, and he asked me, he said, Greg, big dreamer, how do you get around millionaires if you don't know them? And I said, Daniel, listen, there's millionaires everywhere. All you have to do is reach out and ask. Mm-hmm. That's all you have to do. But listen, I don't want to be Bradley. I don't want to be Grant Cardone. I want to be Gary V. I'm me. I'm me, and that's something Dave Thomas taught me when I was younger. If you just be you, here's a man who dropped out of the 9th grade, was an orphan, and washed dishes for a guy who drove around a white Cadillac, wore a white suit, and had a white beard named Harlan Sanders, right? But he left $8 billion. $8 billion. And he always said, be you, screw everybody else. If they don't like you for who you are, then so be it. But so many people conform. They conform. And I tell people, as soon as you conform, you have done it. You have lost the game. You have lost. Yeah. I don't wear suits. My wife would tell you, Eric Thomas, who a lot of people like, Frank Sagasta, that's one of his mentors. I was talking to Eric one time in Cleveland. I said, did you hear that I turned down a $10,000 speaking gig? He said, yeah. And I said, what do you think? My wife thinks I should turn it down too. He said, absolutely. He said, they want you to wear a suit. You don't wear a suit. Turn it down. 3 weeks later, they called me back. And I said, you got to call my manager. My manager was my wife. She said, you're not paying my husband $10,000. It's $15,000 now. And they paid it. Les Brown said the same thing. Once they tell you they don't want you and they call you back, the fee goes up.
Yep.
The fee goes up. And that's what people don't understand. See, there's so many people out there who they devalue themselves. They say, well, big dreamer, I want $3,000 to do this, but they're only going to give me $150. So I might as well take it. I said, well, what is your value? What is your value? I tell people all the time, when you go to buy a business, if you don't think it's worth that, why did you pay for that? You don't go buy a bike, you don't go buy a stereo, a TV if you don't think it's worth it, do you?
No, the value has to exceed the price, or why would you buy it?
That's right. You should listen. I wanted my home theater in there because I wanted 12 speakers better than a studio, right? I wanted a 220-inch screen. I wanted a 4K projector. I wanted to wow my wife and my nieces, my daughter, my friends when they come in there. I didn't say, listen, when I went and bought my Sony 4000, my 4K projector, did I want to pay $32,000 for it? Yes, because that's what I wanted.
Yeah,
that's what I wanted. Someone said, "Aren't you going to try to talk the guy down?" I said, "No, I'm not, because I know the value that I want. It might not be the value you want, but it's the value that I want." So I tell people, stop devaluing yourself. If I see one more person say I'm selling a product and it's originally $9,000, but Eddie, for you, I'm giving it to you for $97.
Yeah.
Really? Because if I showed you my Porsche, my Subway Lamborghini, my Subway Hummer, and I said, I bought those cars for 400-some thousand, but Eddie, I'm going to sell you the Porsche for $7,900. What would you think about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're going to think something's wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
So when I see people, when I see people selling things and they're telling people it's $14,000, $20,000, but you're getting it for $149 or $97 or $497, why not just say, I love it when someone says, hey, my product's $1,000 and that's what you're going to pay. I consult people on franchising, and I tell them it's $1,100 a month, and then you give me 7% of what the franchise is. One guy here in Columbus, I talked to him probably 4 times, and I told him what my fee was, and he said, I'm not going to give you that. he just lost $775,000. And all he had to do was take advice from me and my wife, and we would have told him what not to do and what to do. And we knew exactly why he lost the business. Now he wants to know if he can use our attorney, our accountant, to get some money back. And we said it's going to cost you even more.
Exactly. You know, we deal with that, you know, a little bit here, or quite a bit here, because of our business model and how things work. So people will say, oh man, I'm not paying that, or we're not doing that revenue share. It's like, okay, well, I mean,
that's right.
It's non-negotiable. It is what it is. And they'll go off and they'll try something else, and they'll dump a bunch of money into something. And then inevitably they just end up coming back, because you can make a lot more money with us making money, than you can without us, because we have a value that far exceeds the price.
That's right.
And we don't budge. I'm not budging.
Yeah, you shouldn't. You know, everyone. Listen, there's something. It's kind of like I have a friend, and he believes everything's negotiable. Everything's not negotiable. So he said we were in Vegas one time in the Bellagio, and he wanted to buy a Rolex watch. And I said he's from another land. And I said, brother, you cannot negotiate Rolex watches. They don't do it. And he said, oh, watch me, bro. And he goes there and he wants the watch. It's like $22,000. And they're like, it's $22,000. He said, I'll give you $17,000. He said, it's $22,000. There's some things just are not negotiable.
Yeah.
They're not. Now, you want to go buy gently used Rolex, you can negotiate on prices. But when you buy Rolex new, you pay the same price in Vegas as you do in Columbus, Ohio. And I tell people, you have to. Now, here's another thing, Eddie. Some people try to get their value, and they don't. Like Les Brown always tells me, Greg, you don't, because I don't know the internet yet. I'm learning it right now, because I didn't have to with all my restaurants, right? I'm just getting into it. Les said, Greg, you know, there's a lot of people out there making money. And he told Grant this. And he said, but they haven't done anything.
Mm-hmm.
So when someone comes to me and say, I want to install your new projector. And I say, but you're charging me the same price as the guy who does Les Wexner here in Columbus, who owns Victoria's Secret, right? You're charging me the same amount, but you've only been doing it for a month. And I say, the guy who installed Les Wexner's Victoria's Secrets, my stuff, he's been doing it for 35 years. But he wants the same price. I said, you don't have the respect yet.
Yeah, you don't have the luxury of a track record, so you have to earn your keep.
That's right. It's just like if someone works for Brad, you know, or Grant for, 4 months, why should I pay them the same amount of money? Right?
Oh, yeah, break off and do your own thing?
Unless you can prove to me, because I won't say people like me, but my wife and I, all we care about are results.
Yeah.
I don't care what your GPA is. I don't care who your mommy and daddy was. I don't care where you graduated college from. We are result-driven people.
Absolutely. What else are you going to be?
Yeah, we opened 270 burrito franchises across the country. I own multiple Subway restaurants. You got to come to me and you got to tell me, I talked to a young man on social media and I said, listen, you're wanting my friends who make 9 figures, you're wanting them to trust you at 22 years old to do something for them. They're going to want references. And he said, my clients don't give references. I said, well, I can show you one of the Thomas family members. Her name is Melinda Liu. She's also known as Wendy. She'll give you references, right? Because legitimate people, I'm sure if I call Brad and say, Brad, I want a reference from someone about the VT, he'll say, I'll give it to you right now.
Got a list of them, man. That's
right. So I tell people, you have to know your value and you have to back it up with experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and I've always kind of felt that way. And that was why, people would say, hey, start promoting online, start getting on Facebook and like telling people what to do or how to do something. And it's like, look, at the end of the day, I don't have the results, right, in my own life to where I should be telling people how to do anything. You can see what I'm doing. You can watch me in my journey and what I have going on. I lost everything and I'm on the way back up. But that doesn't mean that somebody should be taking advice from me on how to be successful.
That's right.
I think that it's so standard now for if somebody's getting any sort of attention that they need to then teach or train somebody on something. Look, there's a lot I could help you out with. There's a lot that I could teach and train on. But I don't feel that at this point in my life, I don't have the credibility to be that guy. I couldn't look at myself in the mirror and go, I'm charging this guy this much money to train him on doing this. But 6 months ago, like 4 months ago, my house foreclosed and I almost lost my car. Like that, those don't go together.
Oh, they don't.
No.
But you know, excuse me, like Les said, there's people out there selling stuff. I tell people this all. Sandy Lewis is on it. Hey, Sandy. I was talking to Sandy and I was telling Sandy, you know what? You know, Bruce Lee always said he believes a great martial artist could be gymnasts and people who study ballet because they have the flexibility. They could fake it and look like that, right? Well, I tell people, if you got a good sales game, you don't need any experience at all. You can make it because you can BS to people. You can BS to people. I know people who's making $5,000 a week, Eddie, and I know they've never had a business. They're college students. They're going to be teachers, so they know how to teach and they know how to do this. I tell people all the time, the greatest speakers, right? The greatest speakers are not the greatest speakers. They're the best marketers. I know people that are terrible speakers, but they make a hell of a lot of money because they're great marketers. Hey, Sandy. So if you can learn how to market, if you can learn to get around the Facebook, the Periscopes, the Instagram, and you can have a little bit of experience, you can make a lot of money. But don't see, there's something Brad and I disagree with. I don't believe in faking it till you make it. I told Brad that.
Yeah, I know. Me and Brad were having that talk on a podcast the other day.
Because
I don't agree with that either.
I believe if you fake it to make it, you're doing exactly what you say. You're faking it. Why not just say, you know what? I'm going to be a millionaire, but I'm not yet.
Yeah.
I'm not. What's wrong with that? And in other words, saying I have a friend who drives an $85,000 car and he lives in a 400 square foot apartment. And he doesn't want anyone to follow him home, right? No one. And I say, dude, what are you doing that for? Why don't you go out and drive a $15,000 Honda Civic and take that other money and start your business? But see, he wants to have that flashy side. He wants to fake it till you make it. No, just tell someone you're not a millionaire. You're on your way to become a millionaire. Don't lie to people. Just be you.
Yeah. And you know, him and I were having that discussion, and it really came down to like the definition, the way that you and I see it is the same. So we see fake it till you make it as being ingenuine, as pretending like you're somebody that you're not. Whereas Brad's point to it was being confident and carrying yourself in a way where let people assume whatever they're going to assume. Like walk with confidence, be confident, act as if. Like I agree with that. I just don't agree with the like legitimately faking it and acting like pitch the money and shit. This is not.
And I know, and I know what Brad's talking about, because before I started my first Subway restaurant 33 years ago, I remember people would come in and they'd say, I need to speak to the owner, and I'd say, I'm not the owner. They say, well, I need to speak to you because you're the manager. I'd say, no, I'm just a sandwich artist. So there was something. Thanks, Hans. There's something that my wife said about me. Something that my first mentor, Dave Thomas, said I had something about. I didn't believe it. I didn't know what they meant. But now I think I have something. I don't know. People, everywhere I go, I speak. You know, I talk to everybody. When I was speaking to South Carolina, some people got mad at me because I had to go speak. But I started talking to everybody who I met. And I speak to the janitor. I speak to the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. I speak to everyone. You know, someone once asked Les Brown, who does Greg speak to? And he says, Greg, he speaks to the blue collar, the white collar, the person who doesn't even have a collar. He said, Greg will speak to a rock if it'll listen and write a check. So, I understand what Brad's saying. But, you know, this, and listen, Ty Lopez, God bless him. It works for him. But when I see a guy that has, girls in bikinis shooting basketball in high heels, right? Yeah. And he was not the first. The first person who did what Ty Lopez was doing, his name was Tom Vu, a guy from Vietnam who sold real estate back in the 70s and 80s on TV. Tom Vu used to have a Rolls Royce, a guy from Vietnam. He came here with no education, no money, and he had all these white women in bikinis. And he said, hi, I'm Tom Vu. I teach you how to sell real estate. So that's where Ty Lopez got that. What's happening, Joshua? So I just listen. That works. That works for them. that works for them. But when I see that, I just think, this is I like watching it. It's funny, but I don't buy into it.
Well, and it's not, I mean, I don't know, like, to each his own, right? Do your thing,
yes,
do whatever.
That's right.
But, like, you are whether you're a role model or not, you go the Charles Barkley route. I'm not a role model.
That's right.
I am. But, I mean, people are looking at those types of figures and going, this is the route I have to take to get there. And if it's not like, hearing from people like you and people like Brad and people like Grant, where it's actually put the work in, be yourself, and the rest will follow. If you don't run into those people, you're so oversaturated with the fakes, with the fake it till you make it, that you get confused. And then you got these people that are on the come up and they're just faking it. And it's going to smack them in the face eventually. And then they're going to have to start back over from scratch. So it's just unfortunate that there is so much attention on that stuff. Because I get hit up with these DM pitches and whatnot all the time from MLM guys. And, the pictures of money and like Lambos. It's like, dude, you don't have a Lambo. Like, that's not, you ain't got that cash. So stop throwing it around. I'd respect you if you were real.
Yes. I always told my daughter, don't you dare ever have a fake purse, a Louis Vuitton purse. Don't you ever. So she got her first Louis Vuitton purse when she was in the 8th grade. We were in Vegas. We took a bunch of her friends and family. And Eddie, I don't know how to play cards.
Yeah, me either.
If you show me an ace, I have no idea what it was. So my friends were playing blackjack. They said, "Come on, Greg, play." I said, "I don't know how to play cards, guys. It doesn't compute with me." So my follow-on says, let Amanda, my daughter, sit down with you, right? So my daughter always sat on her grandfather, my wife's dad, on his lap playing poker and blackjack. So when you're sitting there from 3 years old to 18, right? So my daughter didn't look 18. She looked like 22, 25. So she said, "Okay, Dad, I'll help you." I started out with $20, Eddie. I was at $18.95. $18.95, right? My wife comes over and she said, "What the hell are you doing with all those chips?" She said, "Why did you buy those?" I said, "I didn't buy them." She said, "Where'd you get them from?" And they all pointed at my daughter, said she helped him win it. So she said, "Dad, can I get that Louis Vuitton purse that we saw?" I said, "Hell no, that's $895. My wife and a friend looked at me and they said, "Listen, almost $1,900 minus $895, buy her the damn purse. Buy her the purse." So she got that, right? She went through that phase. She got Louis Vuitton, Coach. Now she goes to Macy's and buys a $50 Coco Chanel bag. And one time we were in Vegas and some girl said something to her about, "Well, you wish you had this purse," right? And my daughter, she's like me 20 years ago. She's real shy, calm. So I unzipped it, right? I unzipped her $50 Macy's purse. I unzipped it and I pulled out a check. I said, "Yeah, but she's deposited a $75,000 check tomorrow that she earned."
Boom.
See, she had a $50 purse. The girl had a real $2,200 Louis Vuitton Cherry collection purse, but I guarantee you she didn't have a dime in it. So that's why I taught my daughter, my nieces, carry a $30, $50 purse, but have a $75,000 check inside of it that you're going to deposit.
Right.
That's it. And that's what most people don't have. Like I said, you look at most of those girls' purses, they don't have anything. They might have a brush, a comb, and then they go out and get in their car that has 4 donuts on it, right?
Yeah.
They go back to the hood. Someone said here earlier, ghetto rich. Yes, ghetto rich. Why not just be you? Everyone has to have that facade. It's kind of like when you go by and see a really beautiful billboard, right? And you go behind it and it's all jacked up. Well, that's most Americans. They want you to see their nice ride. But when you say, "Hey, can I come over to your house?" "No, man, I can't come to the house." Right? Frenchie loves her 2004 Honda Pilot. There you go. There you go. I'd rather see someone drive their 19. Here's a perfect example, Eddie. My buddy who lives down the street, he has a 1997 Honda. Lives in an 11,000 square foot house. His daughter says, "Mr. Greg, please tell my daddy to get a new car." I said, "Why, Sydney?" She said, "Because all my friends, they have nice Escalades, and they have one guy has a Bentley." I said, "What do they say when they come to your house?" "They can't believe that we have an indoor swimming pool, an indoor basketball court, an indoor bowling alley." I said, "Sydney, what do they have?" She said, "I don't know. Every time I ask them over their house, they say I can't." That's because mommy and daddy don't want you to see the house. Yeah. If they're so enamored in your house, I guarantee you, mommy and daddy don't have that house, but they have the car. I said, and now she understands. at 17 years old, that daddy works on cars. He builds $1 million, $2 million RVs. If you know who John Madden is, that Madden mobile,
Yeah.
My buddy built that here in Columbus.
So
that's what he does. But he doesn't like cars for himself. He drives a 1982 pickup truck. He's a black dude who drives a 1982 pickup truck, a 1997 Camry, and he does everything himself. And he puts all of his money into his home and into his daughter and wife. But people want to criticize him on his old cars, right? See, that's the millionaire next door. The millionaire next door, like my mentor, Dave Thomas never got a new car till he was 70-some years old. He drove around. No, Warren Buffett drives a Buick. A Buick. I know people that make $75,000 that's driving a Bentley, and they're basically living in their Bentley, right? So people look at that and they say, "Oh, dog, I want what you got." No, I want what one of my mentors has. He has dirty arms from where he works his construction business. But when he died, he left his kids $84 million.
Yeah.
Right? Drove a 1978 pickup truck when he died in 2010. Right? Only thing he wanted, Eddie, was to take his family out to eat a couple days out of the week. He went on vacation every 6 weeks with his family. Every 6 weeks. That's all he wanted. He didn't give a crap about jewelry or cars, but that's him. Right? For me, because I never got to watch TV as a kid with 14 siblings, that's why I have a movie theater. That's why I have a drive-in movie theater outside with almost 1,000-inch screen, because that's something that I love. I love movies. Look, I got a popcorn machine right next to me, the same size you see in a movie theater, because I love popcorn. So that's what I spend I love it. I love the things I love, and people love it. But I tell people, don't get things because you think someone's going to look at you. Mm-hmm. And Frenchie said, talk about my brother T. Wayne Gatewood. My final speech for the World Championship Public Speaking is going to include my brother T. Wayne Gatewood. This is a man, Eddie, who gave up a lot of money as Donato's Pizza, who McDonald's bought. He got cancer in 2007 and reinvented himself, took the suit off. All he wore was a bib overalls with an orange shirt because he played football for the University of West Virginia. And he told me 4 years ago, Greg, you're going to join this thing called Toastmasters. You will be in the World Championship. I said, come on, brother, not me. Not me. He's the one who came with my name, the Big Dreamer, because he heard my mother-in-law always call me the Big Dreamer. And he asked my mother-in-law, he said, Barb, why do you keep calling Greg the Big Dreamer? She said, because, T, he's always got big dreams. Well, didn't he open all the restaurants? Yeah. Didn't he retire you and your husband? Yeah. Didn't he buy everything in your house? Yeah. Have he taken you around the world? Yeah. Well, why are you so caught? She said, because he's just a big dreamer. So he said, Greg, that's who you are. And 4 years, he died 2 years ago. And look, I'm speaking in the World Championship Public Speaking. I'm speaking all around the world. Les Brown asked me. People said, how did you get Les Brown to write your foreword? I said, I never asked him. I was speaking in Cleveland, Ohio, and he heard me talking about my book, and he grabbed me and said, young man, you were part of my legacy with my 7 kids there in Columbus, Ohio. Why am I not writing that foreword? Eddie, I didn't know what a foreword was. Mm-hmm. I said, what is that, Les? He said, that's where someone, who has some notoriety says something nice about you and talks about your story. I said, I would never ask you that. He said, I'm not asking you, Greg. I'm telling you why am I not writing? So I asked some of my friends, and like, boy, you better let him write that foreword for your book. Same way with Jim Clemens, who coached Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. When he called me, he says, Greg, I want to write something for your book. I said, really, Jim? Why you want to write something for me? He said, Greg, listen, I did good in basketball. You did good in life and business. So I have those people. I'm not a member of the National Speakers Association, but Mike Frank, the past president for 20 years, asked me if he could write something about my book. Murray Newlands of Forbes magazine asked me. I didn't ask any of these people. Mm-hmm. I didn't, because I think when you are in your zone, people will ask you. When you when you release your gift, people will see that. That's why I think you and I hit it off, because when I first met you at Brad's office, there was something about you. There was something about you that I felt a connection with. You didn't feel like you was all goo-goo-eyed, like, oh, let me roll the red carpet out for Brad or whatever. There's something about you that I saw that was genuine. And that's why we're friends now. Thanks, Charles. I love you, brother. And that's what
absolutely, I look for people. Dude. That's the same vibe I got. So, like, I'm all about being around genuine people.
Yes, I don't want, listen, I have friends who make a hell of a lot of money per week. I have one friend that makes $150,000 a week, Eddie. He's not a friend, he's an associate. I don't like to be around him. You know why? Because he won't let his autistic daughter climb a rock wall for 50 cents.
Because you were telling me about this guy.
Yeah, he didn't take his 4 kids to Disney World because he said, I'm not going to spend $3,000 to see a damn mouse. He makes $150,000 a week. Think about that. Think about that. And people say, why don't you go see him? I said, I don't have any business seeing him. I see him when I have to, but him and I we don't see eye to eye. My daughter's upstairs. She just came from Pennsylvania, so she drove 4 hours to come see me because she hurt my foot. So she's spending the rest of the week with me because of my foot, right? His daughter wants nothing to do with him. Wonder why?
Yeah,
wonder why.
I wonder.
And when he's dying, he has cancer. Let's see how much he wants that money when he's on his deathbed and his 4 kids don't come see him.
Yeah, when you sacrifice or compromise your children, for money, I mean, to me, that's a super duper no-no. I mean, like the kids, everything is the kids, man.
Because in the end, your kids will be there for you. If you're a good dad, a good mom, right? Listen, and your friends are just going to be there because of money. They're just going to be there money. Listen, we used to have the arena football team here in Columbus. We have a hockey team called the Columbus Blue Jackets. So I got to fly because I knew Mr. McConnell, who owns him. He's a billionaire. So I got to fly on his 737 jet. And I got to bring 5 friends and their spouses. Do you know only one of those spouses still thank me to this day, Eddie? They got to fly private. And a 730, listen, it's not Grant's little G4, right? This is a 737. And when you went on there, they had big things of fruits. They have high back leather, mahogany leather chairs. And, man, it was just free reign, no turn-off stuff. One couple, I just asked them, it was 2007 that it happened. And when I see the one old couple, they always thank me. I talked to one of the other couples, and they're like, did you really take us to Austin, Texas to watch a football game on John McConnell's jet, Greg? How do you forget that, Eddie? How do you forget? And you make $50,000 a year. How do you forget that?
Yeah, you don't.
You don't. So that tells me I never done anything for those other 4 couples ever again. Never. They've asked me to do things, and I haven't. Listen, when I was selling my ebook, Eddie, for 99 cents, ex-friends of ours who almost lost their house, right? My wife and I paid 3 months of their rent. That was $2,100 a month. I asked, they never paid it back. I asked them if they could buy 20 copies. That's $20, 99 cents, my ebook. His wife says, Greg, I can't believe you're just going to ask people to go buy your book. I said, I didn't say $20, $30 for my hardcover. This was 99 cents, right?
Yeah, it's absolutely insane.
What is 2,100 times 3? I don't know. I graduated at the bottom of my class, but I think it's like around $6,000, right? Yeah. So guess what, Eddie? They were losing their house again. I wasn't there. No. I wasn't there, and I told them I'm not going to be there. Listen, shame on you first time, shame on me the second time. So I tell people all the time, you better watch who's around you. Why are they around you? Right? Why are they around you? Are they there for who you are at the time? Or I have a childhood friend who my wife and I grew up with. And some people say, why do you still hang around Charlie? He's still back in the hood. Well, Charlie's filed bankruptcy, him and his wife. They put their daughter through college. He's a maintenance guy for City of Columbus, and he has never asked my wife and I for a dime. Never. He pushes me. He pushes me to do things. When I told him I was nervous to go into the World Championship, he said, man, what you talking about, Greg? You came through a lot of shit in your life. Those people you compete with probably never had to do anything. He said, you better get your big ass up there to Canada, and you better dominate that freaking stage. So this is a dude who has had it hard and filed bankruptcy. He's never asked me for a dime. Never. And that's why I do nice things for him. Yeah. That's why I took him to Las Vegas 3 times. That's why I bought him a 100-inch flat screen TV. That cost a hell of a lot of money because he's my real friend.
He stands on his own. He stands on his own. He's a man. He's not trying to look for handouts or make excuses for what he's done or what he hasn't done. He's
plus we have a long legacy. You know, my nieces were saying, hey, Charlie, please tell that story about my aunt and uncle when you guys were little. You know, my wife and I were the only white kids in the neighborhood, right? So we're stealing light bulbs because that's what we did back in the 70s. Steal Christmas light bulbs and then bust them. Right? Now people are shooting out houses for fun.
Yeah.
So
Times have changed.
he said we were stealing light bulbs. Your uncle jumped the fence. Everybody jumped the fence. I ripped my pant leg off. And a lady, Miss Jackson, came out and she says, I'm going to tell your mom, your daddy, everyone in your household, Greg Walker. And I said, how does she know it was me? So my buddy Charlie, and they all looked at me and said, Greg, when you're the only white dude in the neighborhood, it's pretty obvious. So that's how far we go back, and that's why I love him. So when I tell our friends who came out of the hood here in Columbus, who are now doctors and lawyers, I say, you know what? He's the same dude that grew up with you and I. You just chose to turn a different way. So I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have, because I know people with no money who I love, and people who have a lot of money, like my brother who makes $150,000 a week, who I can't stand to be around. And that's because of Dave Thomas. Dave Thomas was a humble man, very humble man.
Well, the money doesn't make you, right? Like they say. That's so right. The money amplifies whoever you are, right?
That's
so
right.
If you're a good person, the money will amplify the good. If you're an asshole, the money's just going to make you more of an asshole. But money can change some people. But I think that at the essence,
well, I tell people this all the time, Eddie. How in the hell are you going to work with 50 million when you can't even work with 50,000?
Yeah.
Right? And that's where you see all those lottery winners. Warren Sapp, $77 million, right? 77 million. So I tell people, if you're a lousy, drunken father, husband, and you win the lottery, you'll be the same way. You'll just be a bigger version. If you're a giving person, you will probably give most of that money away. So money only amplifies. It doesn't change you. You were already that idiot. You were already that nice person. It just furthered along what you are. And plus, money gives people a lot of power. And I like what Abraham Lincoln said. If you want to see a true man's character, give him power.
Mm-hmm.
Because some people just cannot hold power.
Yeah.
They can't. Some people just, and that's why I don't believe that everyone's meant to be a millionaire. I don't. I just don't.
I agree with you completely.
I don't. Yeah. And it's not to say that's bad, because, listen, I know people that make hardly any money and they're great people. So they don't need millions of dollars. And I know people who have millions of dollars, they shouldn't have it. You know, Gary Vee always talks about it. You know, when he was on Grant's show, and Grant said, Gary, do you really believe people can be happy and only make $70,000? He says, hell yeah.
Of course they can.
Hell yeah. And like he said, he has friends in Silicon Valley that make hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're assholes.
Yeah.
Right? So I want to be with that. I want to be with the people who are truly happy with their life. I love going and sitting with my friend Charlie, and his dad just passed away. His dad retired, and he worked in a factory where they had silicon, and he had bone cancer. The billionaire who I rode on his jet with, he helped him out, Eddie. All these guys died of bone cancer. He helped them out, right? He gave them $1,300 a piece.
Wow.
They all died 20 years. They lived with bone cancer, and they settled a lawsuit, and he gave them $1,300 each. And he owns Nationwide Insurance, the Columbus Blue Jackets, right?
That's crazy.
And he's loved because he gave $100 million to the Children's Hospital. I say, I don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Because I watched my friend Charlie, his dad died in agony, and he was a great man. I'd go sit with him. We had cookouts. He talked about the Cincinnati Reds. He was so grateful. And I'd say, why couldn't he have $1 million? Why couldn't he? He would have enjoyed it. He would have shared it. But some guy who makes $150,000 a week won't let his autistic daughter climb a rock wall for 50 cents. So I like to be around the genuine people. I like to be around people who, who don't have to go around and flash their fake cash, the fake cash. Because someone asked me today, or last night, they said, Greg, what kind of millionaire is the best, do you think? I said, my wife and I we love to be cash millionaires, not asset millionaires. Mm-hmm. Because I could say that this thing right here that Brad gave me, which I love, by the way, I don't know what it is, but hold it right there.
Oh, dude, it is the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
So, right, we can say that this is worth $1 million. But until someone gives us $1 million, it's not worth $1 million.
Yeah. Right?
So I told a person last night, I like being a cash millionaire. When Frenchie wants me to talk about my buddy Herb. my buddy Herb, his brother is my best friend, and Jim Clemens, who has the 10 NBA rings, Herb is his best friend since childhood. Herb lost his leg at 68 years old, living on Social Security, gave up on life, lost like 100 some pounds just by not eating. So his brother Dave asked me if I could go up and be the big dreamer, inspire him. Doctors are saying he's going to die. He's not going to listen to you. He's ignorant. My little niece Savannah told the doctor, "You do understand that he can hear you, right?" And I told the doctor, as long as I'm here, don't ever say anything like that again. I don't care that you have an MD. I don't care if you have a college degree. I said, you say that again, I will knock you on your ass, because my niece is right. He can hear you. They said, well, I don't care who you are, what you say. He's going to die. Well, 3 months later, he's gained 45 pounds. He couldn't lift his head up before he put the pillow behind him. And now he wants to live, because this is what Les Brown taught me about life. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, right? But if you teach that horse why he needs to drink, then he will drink the rest of his life. So what we had to do was teach Herb that he had a son he hadn't seen in decades. He had a grandchild that he's never seen before. And now Herb wants to live. So I go every Friday, my niece and I, we watch movies. I do a Facebook Live. And Herb always says, because of the big dreamer, they took the feeding tube out of myself. And I said, no. You are the rocket. I was just the fuel, buddy. And now he's getting ready, his prosthetic leg. He has one more wound to heal, and then he's getting up out of there. And he's going to start living his life. So he always tells people, when I say, Herb, what advice do you have for people? He said, live now. He says, live right now, because you might be in this hospital. I met a guy in there who, I always like to ask people, Eddie, why they're in the nursing home. So this guy looked about my age. I'm 51, but he was actually 48. I said, brother, what happened to you? He said, well, 40 years old, I got MS, and it destroyed all my muscles. I said, how long you been here? He said, 8 years. He said, I'm 48. I said, when do you leave? He said, I'll die here. I'll die here. So when I leave there, oh, there's my sister from Japan, Candy. I love you, girl, Candy. So when I leave that nursing home, Eddie, every Friday, man, I feel like I'm Warren Buffett. I feel like I can go run a marathon, because that's why I got this sore on my foot. I pushed myself. My wife got mad. My 5-foot redhead wife, who never curses, when she told me, my doctor told me to set, and I wouldn't set. I was trying to go walk and do things. She said, set your ass down. And sometimes we need to set our ass down, right?
Yeah.
Because I pushed myself, because we're talking about no excuses. So I said, I don't care if I get this bad infection, I could lose my foot. I still have to do things. But I had to be told by my wife to set my ass down. That's not a bad thing.
No.
It's not. Because she's right. If I didn't set down, I would lose my foot. I go tomorrow. I don't know what my doctor's going to say. But I know one thing. Whatever happens tomorrow, I'm still on that stage in Vancouver, Canada, August 24th, to dominate that stage.
Well, because you're not going to make any excuses as to why you can't do exactly what it is that you want to do when you want to do it.
No, I'm not. I push myself. I push myself because I have a need to succeed all of my life. And maybe it's just something to show my legacy, my daughter, my nieces, my nephews, to show them that it can be done. That it can be done. You know, Nelson Mandela once said, everything seems impossible until it's done.
Yeah.
Until it's, a guy from Columbus named Jesse Owens, who shut Hitler down, right? They said, you can't do it. You can't do it. He won 4 gold medals. Now we know what he did.
Yeah.
Right? Evel Knievel. The only guy who I would ever get Google eye, if Evel Knievel came back alive and he said, Greg, you want to put on my helmet? You want to put it? And listen, I got to show this because my buddy Mark Menard wanted me to show this. Let me show you something, Eddie.
Yeah. Hey, so it's hard to keep up with comments here because they're scrolling, like they're not scrolling on the side. So if I'm not acknowledging you guys, I'm sorry. I appreciate you guys jumping in here. If you haven't shared, share it out. We don't have much more time left, but there's plenty of other people that can hop in here and get some info from Greg, and I'd really appreciate that. So
listen, this is how the little things mean a lot to me. It's not the Lamborghini, the $150,000 Hummer, the 9,000 square foot house. It's the little things. My wife used to hear kids make fun of me because I didn't have a lunchbox, and all I wanted was an Evel Knievel lunchbox. And I had one of my friend's grandparents gave me the Evel Knievel motorcycle guy, and I loved that until a kid stole it. So all my life, I always wanted to know what it was like to have an Evel Knievel. So for my 50th birthday, my wife went to Greece. My wife went to Greece, Eddie, because she found a mint condition Evel Knievel box.
Oh, wow.
Evel Knievel box. Now, why would she go all the way to Greece to get that? Because it was still in the box. It was mint condition. And she knew how much that means to me. So when people come to my house, you know how Brad says, don't touch the Rhino?
Yeah.
Listen, you can touch my projector, my pool table, my trophies in my house, my Gator helmet over there to my left, but don't touch it.
Yeah, don't touch my Evel Knievel lunchbox.
Listen, my wife was going to buy me the Evel Knievel jumpsuit. She was going to buy that, and I said, no, I don't want you to spend $100,000 on that jumpsuit. But she was going to buy it for me.
Yeah.
It's the little, in my life, it's the little things that mean something to me. When someone makes me, my daughter, my nieces, my nephews, when they make me a handwritten birthday card, that means everything to me because it shows they put some thought.
I would argue that to everybody, it's the little things that matter. I just don't think that they acknowledge that they matter as much as they do because they're
right.
either swayed in one direction or the other. But you can't sit there and be honest with yourself and say, that a handwritten note from your kid or a thoughtful gift that costs nothing doesn't mean more to you than something that costs a bunch of money. Because it does, dude. And if you say it doesn't, like you out there, you're telling yourself, no, I'd rather have the Lambo. You're just lying to yourself.
You are. Listen, my brother Ruben Arana, who's a professor at Florida A&M, he wrote something in my book. I did a big thing on Periscope 2 years ago because he knows I love Batman, right? I tell everybody, be you unless you can be Batman, right?
Yeah.
So he's an artist. He does art all the time on Periscope. He made me a custom Lego Batman, and it looks like just like that movie poster. And then he put TBD for the Big Dreamer on the belt, and they put it in this very nice frame. And to me, that's up in my bathroom. I see it every day when I come in, when I brush my teeth, comb my hair. I look at that and I think, you know what, man, that's the car right there. That lunchbox, that's the house right there. Because in the end, those people took time and thought to do something for me. And that's what I believe you're right. They are the small things. Just most people, they don't realize it until something happens. They get cancer, their kids, something happens, and they look at that little stupid letter and they say, wow, this meant the world to me when I got it. Mm-hmm. So I tell people, stop chasing what do we hear? What's the crap we hear, Eddie? 6-figure, 7-figure. I tell people, be happy on your journey to get that 6-figure, 7-figure, that 8-figure. On the journey, don't wait, because we all know it's a lie. I always taught my daughter, my nieces, I'll give them pieces of paper, and I say, do you want that because you want to collect dead presidents? And they say, no. I say, why do you want that $100 bill? They say, because I can go out and buy toys, Uncle. I said, so you want that money because what you think it will buy you. And most people think it's going to buy them happiness. My wife and I never wanted to make millions of dollars. We talk about it in my book. We wanted to feed millions of people. We feed 2,200 families here in Columbus through the Mid-Ohio Food Bank because, as my book says, I used to have to pick worms to help feed our family. Yeah. To help feed that. So we never wanted to make millions to have millions. We wanted to make millions so we can make an impact. And I tell people, most people have it backwards. They have it twisted, Eddie. They say, I will give, Greg, when I make your money. I will give when I make Brad Lee's money. And it's all a lie. If you can't buy an old couple a cup of coffee at Starbucks when you just cashed an $800 check, do you really think when you make $100,000 you're going to give $10,000 away?
Yeah,
my wife can tell you, my daughter went to a private Christian school all of her life. When I went to give a $10,000 check away for the first time, I was holding it, Eddie. My wife had to smack my hand. When I gave a $50,000 check away to buy the bleachers, I couldn't let it go. So I tell people, you can't let $10 go, but you think you're going to let $10,000, $50,000. It's not going to happen. You got to do things right now where you are.
Yeah, well, it's like Jim Rohn when he's talking about, saving 10% of your income. It's a lot easier to save 10% of your income when you start with $1.
That's right. That's right. People don't understand that. They always think, or someone says, I'll be happy when I have a baby and get married. I know a lot of people who are very unhappy who are married and they have babies, but they thought that was going to make them happy.
Yeah,
You got to
if you
just.
attach these things as I need this in order to get this, right? Like I
That's right.
can't go out and start a business, or I can't, do whatever until my kids are adults, or until I make this much money. It's just an excuse that keeps you from actually
That's
living.
right.
And then something happens and you're freaking screwed.
Listen, I tell people if you listen, if you don't give, you don't deserve to get anything, right? You got to make an impact before you make an income. My
Yeah.
wife can tell you. My wife smacked me one time, 36 years ago, because we didn't have money. We didn't have money to pay our bills, right? Because we always been together. And I would come to our work and I would buy people donuts. And she smacked me one time. She said, "What are you doing? We don't have money to pay our rent." And I'd say, "Jan, I'm telling you, we are one day going to have more than all these people." And this one girl, I still remember her name now, Stephanie. My wife and I talk about it. She came in the lunchroom and says, "Hey, has anyone got a couple of dollars?" And I said, "I do." And I gave it to her. She says, "How much money do you have?" I said, "That's my last $2." She looked at me, Eddie, and she says, "You're freaking stupid." We saw her 10 years ago, 9 kids, alcoholic, been married 5 times, but I'm the stupid one, right?
Yeah.
And my wife tells people, she'll tell, I smacked my husband. I told him, "What the hell are you doing? You're giving our money away." But I knew something deep inside that there was more to us than what was shown. Because Dave Thomas told me that I can have whatever I work hard for. If I work harder than most people, I can have. I'm not the smartest person. I graduated 454th out of 455 only because my teacher and 3 other women teachers changed my grades, right? They changed my grades. But my teacher, Dave Thomas, always taught me that you can outwork talent, you can outwork a college degree, you can outwork a GPA. When people come to apply for me and my wife as a district manager, one kid came 10 years ago and said, "I just graduated from The Ohio State University." I said, "So did 25,000 other people." And I said, "Why should I pay you 68,000 when you should only be making 25,000 a year?" And he said, "Because I agree." Anyway, he says, "I believe anyone who has a college degree should make at least 68,000." I said, "My wife never went to college. She just wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and she makes about 400 G's a year." He looked at me, Eddie, and says, "I don't think that's right. I don't think he said, "I believe your wife should have a mop bucket and mopping and make a minimum wage."
So was he actually trying to get the job? Because you just pretty much screwed it at that point. Jeez.
Well, he was one of those little rich snotty nosed kids that his parents grew up here in Upper Arlington, where Jack Nicklaus is from, right? It's called Old Money. So I showed him a picture of Dave Thomas to me, right? I said, "This guy was an orphan, dropped out in 9th grade. He started a company around the corner called Wendy's. Do you think he deserves it?" And he actually said, "Eddie, I don't think Dave Thomas should have had that money." And I said, "Young man, if you don't change your mind, you will never, ever make it in the world." We just saw him 2 years ago. He has a master's degree in business from The Ohio State University. Do you know he never talks about his degree now? He doesn't tell people he has a college degree. And he says, "Mr. Walker, I want to thank you for telling me that I made that degree. The degree did not make me." See, he was always taught by his family that if someone doesn't have higher education, that they're lazy, they're worthless. He said, when I showed him the picture of me and Dave Thomas, that's when he disbelieved what his family said. And that's the problem. You show me a spoiled, rotten kid, and I'll show you the parents who never taught them the right way.
Yeah, I mean, you very easily can be the product of your environment, whether it's good or bad. And it is up to you to look at the situation for what it is. And sometimes, I mean, like Michael Burke talks about, you can't see the picture when you're inside the frame, right? So sometimes you need somebody on the outside, like
that's Les Brown's quote. That's Les Brown's quote. He should have quoted Les Brown.
Yeah, he uses it all the time. I love Michael Burke.
Les says that all the time. He says, "You know what, Greg? The Mona Lisa cannot see herself. So the Mona Lisa needs us on the outside to tell her how beautiful she is."
Yep.
And that's right. So many people, they think they can get by without having a coach. You know, I have a coach. I talked to Rob on there. I talked to Wendy. I talked to Sandy. I talked to Jason, even though Jason's younger than me. I have coaches all around. I have Les Brown. I have Les Brown's mentor, Mike Williams, who told Les that he should be a speaker. So I have coaches everywhere. A coach doesn't have to be someone you spend $30,000 with. It can be a young man like Jason who tries to teach me how to do things on eBay, right? A coach is just someone who helps you do something. And a coach and a mentor is not this. I see so many people that want their mentors to teach them to be like them. A mentor only gives you advice. Mm-hmm. They tell you what you're doing wrong, what they think you're doing right, and how you can correct it. So I tell people, if you want to be like your mentor and your mentor is trying to make a mini him, then you need to get a different mentor.
Yeah.
You do.
Yeah. I mean, as far as I look at it, I've had a couple different people that have come through my life, you know, in the course of my career that I would consider mentors, but only because they were trusted friends who had results or information that I wanted. That is really what it boiled down to. They could make more, they could make less, it could be whatever. Their skill set was something that I needed to learn from. Now, does that not mean that there's legitimate coaching business and, you know, people can really help you explode your business like what Michael Burt does? Absolutely. But not everybody is a coach and not everybody is a mentor. And if the mentor is trying to make you into a mini them, they're not really looking out for you and your best interest, because they should be trying to make you a full you.
That's right. And a true coach and mentor, they should have experience. Listen, I don't want to go. I can't swim. If I go swimming, I want the kid who was the worst swimmer on the high school swim team, other than the kid who just watched a YouTube on how to swim. Right? I want someone who has experience in something. Yeah. I do. And I think that's, most people want that, but so many people are jaded by the flashy stuff. They're jaded by the flashy stuff. You know, someone says, this guy's got a book, Greg. He must know something. Well, my 12-year-old niece is writing a book, and she knows nothing, right? Yeah. She knows nothing. So I tell people, look, dig deep into people. Do your due diligence. It's your responsibility not to get taken. If you get taken, it's probably your own fault. Yep. It's probably your own fault.
Every time I got screwed or taken, it was my fault, 100%. That's right. Because the writing was on the wall, and I chose to ignore it, and it's on me.
My wife and I lost $550,000 in one day in 2008. Oh. And my mentor taught me what never to do, and I didn't listen to him. I didn't listen to him. My family never had $550,000 in their life combined, and I swore, my wife and I swear, that we would never let anybody make that mistake ever again. Never. So whenever we talk about hear someone talking about a lease, you know, for a company or whatever, we tell them what not to do and what to do, because we don't want to see anybody hurt like that. And it was our fault. It was our fault, because my mentor always taught me, this is what Dave Thomas taught me: young man, don't ever fall in love with something that cannot love you back. And so many people fall in love with what? A business, a house, a car. I know people who lost everything, and if they would have just let their car and house go, they'd be fine. But they didn't. They had to hold on because they loved it. Really? Yeah. That house and car can't love you back. It can't. I told one of my friends who could not give away with his $300,000 car and his 15,000 square foot house. I said, brother, if you let this go and sell those, you can pay cash for a house and a car that most people would dream of having. He didn't, Eddie. And then he got so far into debt that he lost everything because he loved it. Wow. Yeah. Because he loved it. Now he's a changed person. Now he preaches what I do. If it can't love you back, let it go, man. Let it go.
Well, and that goes with everything. That's a great bit of advice, because that could be a person.
Yes, that's right. That's right. And now, you know, my non-negotiable is nothing comes before my wife, my daughter, my nieces. Mm-hmm. Nothing. You know, I hear people say, when my wife calls me on a business meeting, I don't talk to her. My kids, I don't talk. I don't believe that. My wife and nieces and my daughter know that they call me, it should be important. Right? Yeah. It's kind of like I was on a radio station one time, and my smart daughter, I keep getting my phone's buzzing. I told the radio show host, I said, hold on. I said, my daughter's calling. She knows not to call me unless it's important. She said, well, maybe you better call her, Greg. So I called her and said, young lady, you know you're not supposed to call me. She says, you better change something, Father. She said, you better change something. I said, what? She said, you just said something about my mother. You said behind every great man is a great woman. I said, yeah. She said, no, Daddy. You say beside every great man is a great woman. I said, okay. It was important. Yeah. Right? It was important. Absolutely. She told her daddy. You know, that's her mother that's talking about. So, you know, the woman host said, "What did your doctor say?" I said, "She just want to give me some advice."
Yeah.
She just want to give me advice. But I tell men that now. It's not behind. If you love your wife, listen, unless you're a Muslim, and then your wife walks behind you 3 steps. But I'm not. So my wife walks in front of me because my wife has been there through all the crap. She was there hiding me when my father was molesting my sisters, pulling guns on my brothers, beating to hell, throwing my mother through plate glass windows. My wife was there. So she walks in front of me. I follow her. I like that. She's my rock. Some guy, and I think I might have told you this. I told Brad this. We were at a Subway convention probably about 10 years ago, and this one of my so-called friends came up and he says, "Hey, Greg, is it true you've been with Jan all your life?" I said, "We're not married, but yeah, all my life." He said, "Man, you got status now. You got cars." He said, "Have you ever thought about trading the car in?" I was naive, Eddie. I was naive. I said, "Yeah, we went from a 1981 Chevy Chevette to a Ford Taurus to a Porsche to this, and this." He said, No, you know what I'm talking about." I didn't know what he was talking about. I was naive at 30-some years old. My friend's wife, who was drunk, came over and says, "Greg, the a-hole is trying to tell you to trade your wife in for a younger wife." Now, my wife's 49, but she gets carded at the casino, and she hates it. And I said, "No, that's good, dear." So I said, is that what you was thinking, brother? He said, "Yeah." I said, "As long as I see you the rest of my life, don't ever bring that up again. Don't ever bring that up." So then my friend's loud wife, who was drunk, she says, "Greg, ask his mother how many times he's been married." I said, "You've been married before?" He said, "Yeah, the first 6 wives were." I said, "You dated 6 women before your wife?" He said, "No, I had 6 wives. I'm on a 7th. I said, "Wait a minute. You're on your 7th wife?" And he said, "The other 6 were." I said, No. I said, "You have 7 wives and you're telling me to trade mine in?" I said, "Brother," I said, "how's that working out for you financially?" He said, "Not good." You want to be
taking marriage advice from.
Yes. So those are the type of people you want to learn from. You want to hear those people because there are ignorant people out there. Yeah. I tell people the best way not to put your foot in your mouth is not opening it. And he should never open it. So now what happens when we see him at a convention? He says, "Hey, Greg, how you doing? Hey, Jan, how you doing?" Right? Because, listen, I'm a nonviolent person, but there's something I learned from my brothers in and out of prison, right? I don't believe in fighting. But if you smack me or my family, I do have that inheritance in my blood.
Yeah, I think it's just instinct, dude.
Yes.
It's instinct. Yes. If you say something about my family, you have something to say about my kids, like it's not good.
No, it's not. And
not good, dude. It flips a switch. There's no control.
Here comes my wifey here. She won't show herself, but she'll say hi. Come on. Say hi to Eddie. He works at Brad's office.
Eddie?
Yeah, say hi.
Hi, Eddie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Phenomenal. I'm outside with a bonfire.
She's outside the bonfire. So that's her message that, hey, your daughter's up there. Your sister-in-law's up here wait a minute, Eddie, let her tell you herself. She hates telling it, but I tell everybody, they say, "Greg, there's no way you were shy." So she's going to tell the story so everybody can hear it. Jan, tell the story. How did I ask you to marry me?
He gave my ring to my sister, and then he had her ask me to marry him, and then he drove off.
You weren't lying.
Now I ask her every day, "Where do you want to go get married at?"
Yeah.
And she says,
"Once is enough, baby."
Listen, $47 on our lunch break. We went down to the Hall of Justice.
Yeah.
Right?
And went back to work.
We didn't spend $50,000 or $100,000 to get married and then get a divorce 4 years later. We didn't do it. And that's what we told our daughter. We would never give you a lot of money for a wedding. We'll give you money for a down payment on a house, but we'll never give you a lot of money for a wedding because more people concentrate on their wedding than they do their marriage.
I agree.
And that's why we have a 51% divorce rate right now.
Yeah. Yep. At least I can say, I am in that divorce rate. I'm divorced, but I did not spend a lot of money on my wedding. We went down to the courthouse and did that.
There you go. Right?
Because that's not the important part. And I was a kid and I just couldn't make it work no more. But It happens.
And you said you were a kid, right?
Yeah.
You were a kid, so you learned something as a kid. You know, you weren't 50 some years old and made that mistake 6 times.
Yeah, no.
Right?
I won't make that mistake a second time. But
what's
cool,
that,
brother? Hey, I know these guys with when it comes to
Okay, I'll be up in a minute.
froze up.
It just froze up for a second.
Do you need help?
Yeah, it froze up. That's
fine.
weird. Okay. I just was saying, leave. We got 16 people on here. What would you want to leave them with when it comes to excuses? Like, what can they tell themselves when they're about to make an excuse, or how to identify the excuse and what to do? Like, what would be your piece of advice to leave them with right now?
My piece of advice is you're going to die. Someone's getting your dream right now. Someone's sitting in a hospital looking out a window saying, I would love to go to try to get my dream again. They're saying, I would love to go out in the rain. I would love to just work 50 hours, 70 hours a day, even though it's 24 hours. You got to tell yourself, life is too big. There's too many possibilities that I can step into. I don't care about all the negative Nancys, the DKs, the dream killers. It's my dream. I'm too big to dream small, and it's up to me whether I become successful or happy or not. No one's giving it to you. I always say FedEx or UPS is never bringing a brown or white package and saying, here's your dreams, here's your vision, here's your goals. It's up to you to go get what you want. Because listen, I tell people all the time, hear those footsteps, Mr. College graduate? That's Greg Walker, the big dreamer, coming up behind you and working his ass off because I couldn't make excuses. So that better be you. You better be listening because someone's coming up working harder than you named Dave Thomas, Greg Walker, right? Brad Lee. There's people coming up behind you. So if you don't get your dreams, someone's getting them. Someone's making the money. Why not it be you? There's people smarter than me that should be where I'm at, but they didn't have the dedication. They didn't have the persistence. I tell people this. You might say, but I'm not the smartest tool, right? I'm not the most persistent. Listen, every animal insect made it on the ark. The last species that made it was the snail. And how did the snail make it? By being persistent. How did I make it? My wife and I, who you just heard from, by being persistent, going after everything. We're not afraid to take a risk. You should not be afraid to take a risk. Take a calculated risk. If you want to go into the trucking business, know something about the trucking business. If you want to start up a franchise, know something about the franchise. Those are called calculated risks. Yeah. Just understand this, that someone is getting what you want. And listen, time's going by. I'm not saying it's too late. I'm not saying it's too late because my mentor, Dave Thomas, worked for a guy who didn't sell his chicken recipe until he was 66 years old. Ray Kroc didn't buy the McDonald's brothers until he was 54. Rodney Dangerfield, the great comedian, did not step on an open mic stage until he was 56.
Wow.
But you don't want to wait. You want to do it now because we are dying every second. We could get off here and one of the 18 people, including me and Eddie, could be gone tomorrow. So go to a hospital, ask people what would they do if they could do it. Listen, ask yourself this. What would you do if you knew you were going to die in a year? What would you do? And open your eyes and say, I'm going to go do it now. Is it going to be easy? No. People talk to me, hey, Big German, tell me about entrepreneurship. My wife and I say, do you want to cry in your 1982 Chevy Chevette? That's what happens. That's what happens. You're going to cry. But in the end, you're going to thank God that you became an entrepreneur. If you want to be an entrepreneur, go be an entrepreneur. But know this, that's not easy. It's not easy. It's not a rose garden. There's many thorns that you're going to step over. And understand this, obstacles will never go away. There's always going to be something in your way in life, whether you make $10 or you make $10,000 a day. You will always have obstacles. But remember this, through every dark tunnel comes sunlight. Through every bad storm comes sunlight. All you have to do is have the grit, to have the dream, the daily grind, the daily hustle to get what you want. And I guarantee you, I'm example A. 454th out of 455, the only one in the history on either side to go past the 9th grade. I should not have what I have right now. But because of my dedication, my persistence, my belief, my struggles, I trusted the process. I guarantee you that if you understand that you are too big to dream, you can have every damn thing you want in life.
Love that, dude. I appreciate you, dude. I do.
No problem.
Everything that you say is straight fire. It's gold. People need to hear it, and I know you can continue on forever. Pick up his book. Okay, Amazon. Dream to Go Rich.
If you want a signed copy, you can go to. Let me see if I can show a better picture of it. There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Dream to Grow Rich. You can go to greginspires.com. greginspires.com to get a signed copy of it. Forward written by Mr. Les Brown. Right there. He wrote the forward, and he wrote some beautiful things about me. Jim Clemens, 1 to 2 men who has 10 NBA rings. Not LeBron James, not Michael Jordan. It's Phil Jackson and Jim Clemens. Craig, you got the book, so go to greginspires.com. Get a signed copy of it. I'll sign it for you. I might even put a little gift in there. Go get it. #1 bestseller in 4 different countries. But go to greginspires.com and you can get a signed copy, and I'll mail it out to you this week. So I want everyone to understand that, your dream is possible. Step into your possibilities. There's nothing too big for you to go get. Thank you, Frenchie. There's nothing that you cannot have. Whatever your mind can hold, your hand can hold. You can do it. You can do it, but it's not up to me or Eddie. It's up to you. Only you can do it. And when you want to quit, which you will want to quit, look behind you, look at your kids, your niece and nephews, and see why you're doing it for.
Yep.
See, I'm not winning the world championship for me. I'm winning it for my future grandchildren. When people say your uncle came from a white trash family, they can say, "Oh yeah, look what my grandfather did. Look what my uncle did," and he ended up winning the world championship public speaking. Right? So I'm doing it for my legacy. Not for me. It's for my legacy. So I want everyone out there to understand you cannot catch your dreams unless you're chasing after them. So start chasing tonight. Go to bed and ask yourself, what can I be? Who can I love? What can I give? What do I want out of life? Answer those questions. What do I want? Do I want a book? Do I want a business? Do I want that girl, that guy? What do I want? Because Nietzsche said, when you discover your why, you can endure anyhow. That's it. I'm going to a bonfire with my family. Marshmallow time. Tomorrow I see the doctor. Hopefully he says I'm okay.
Yeah, you're going to be good, man. Everything's going to be great. Foot's going to be fine.
Brother. I can't wait to come back out to Vegas. We'll hook up and have lunch.
Yep, come see me, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
All right, brother. Appreciate you, too.
Have a great day.
You too, man. Appreciate everybody staying on here. Go check out greginspires.com. Get the man's book, signed copy. If you don't know Greg, now you know Greg. I appreciate you guys, and I'll see you guys around tomorrow. Wednesday is Frank Sell on Home of the Hustle. Thursday, The Law. I think he's laying down the law with Matt Monero this week. And then Friday with Justin Myers for Freedom Fridays. So appreciate you guys and all the support. If you haven't liked the page, please do that. We're like 50 likes away from 2,000. So that's a little benchmark for us, so help us out. Appreciate you guys. Have a good night.